Episode 10, Season 2 of The Dave Whitty Show. I'm your host, Dave Whitty. Folks, as always, this podcast is brought to you by Lamb's Rum. Lamb's is one of the top choices for Newfoundlanders who love the authentic, smooth taste. Enjoy Lamb's Palm Breeze today with a splash of Coke and lime wedge, or for something different, try Lamb's Spice on its own on the rocks. Lamb's the best choice for hard-working Newfoundlanders, and at a great price, find Lamb's Rum at all of your local NLCs. Also out now, these tasty Lamb's RTDs, ready to drinks, Spice Rum Punch, been crushing these, absolutely delicious. Get your hands on them in the liquor store right now, and a big thanks to our friends at Lamb's. They are awesome to deal with. Thanks so much for sponsoring this podcast. Welcome back, folks. First off, I want to say a big thanks to our friend Vicky Foley. What a laugh to have Vicky on. Vicky's awesome. If you missed that episode, go back and have a listen to it. It's slowly creeping up on one of the most viewed episodes I've had so far, mostly because of how awesome Vicky is and how funny she is. But, just great support for her and great support for the podcast as well. But, just want to say big thanks to Vicky for coming on and make sure you go check out that episode. Sorry, my voice is a little hoarse here today. I'll explain that in a little bit. But I want to say about the new episode, this one here, got Mr. Larry Foley on this week. I had an absolutely unreal chat with Larry. Larry is one of those guys, you can sit down and talk to Larry and shoot shit and tell yarns for hours and hours. I actually had to cut the interview and restart it again because we were just chatting for so long and felt like it was only just minutes and it kept going. So stick around later on for that great chat with Larry Foley. We're chatting all about his life and music and some great stories about, hanging out with Ron Hynes and touring over the years and just playing around the pubs and playing around St. John. So it was a really, really great chat and I really enjoyed it. So big thanks to Larry Foley and stick around for that one. It's coming up. Got a really fun show coming up at the end of this week here, guys. Friday night at the Rock House. Got the full band going. Myself, Nick Earl, Dan George, Peter Green, and opening up the show will be Claire Follett. Tickets are on sale right now. You can find them on my website, www.davewhitty.com, or you can head to any of my social media channels where you will find the Eventbrite link that will take you to where you have to go to purchase those tickets. They're just $20 in advance, and hoping to have a real great night, have a great turnout. It's going to be the only band show of the whole summer. As I mentioned, my voice a little hoarse because I've been so busy lately. I actually took a new job and filmed this summer, doing a... Not giving up. I've never give up on music or anything like that, but was just looking for something a little different to be at, especially in the daytimes. And this seemed like a pretty interesting opportunity. A friend of mine approached me and, he offered me a position with this film company. And so we've been working a lot of hours lately doing that. Plus I've been trying to get in my gigs on the evenings at Kelly's and stuff like that. So it's been a long couple days. Voice is definitely feeling a little hoarse, but we'll try to get through that. But yeah, really grateful for the opportunity to get some work in the film stuff. It's ready to absolutely explode in Newfoundland. I thought it'd be a great time to probably get in with a really great film company, and we started shooting this week, and it's been a lot of fun on set. Very, very interesting, very creative work, and just really looking forward to this ride. Something completely different, but staying in a great creative field. So, as I mentioned, this show is going to be the only Whitty band show this summer. Hoping to have a big summer blowout, start of summer blowout. So grab your tickets now. And I actually wanted to throw a little, let's see what we can do here. I want to give away a couple tickets here to just my podcast listeners. So how about this? We'll give away 2 tickets. How can we do this? How about anybody who's listening out there? I won't post this on any of the feeds or anything. It's just for the listeners. If you want to win 2 tickets to the show on Friday, how about you send me an email, info@davewhitty.com, and send me the song you want to hear the most Friday night at the Rock House, and I'll pick a winner out of those entries that come in, and I'll give away 2 free tickets to the show on Friday night. So send me an email, info@davewhitty.com, and let me know the song you want to hear the most Friday night at the Rock House. Really looking forward to that again, guys. So just grab your tickets. It's going to be great fun, and the only Whitty Band show this summer. Our softball team, the Fog Pirates Softball Club, we're off to a 6-2 start. Having a lot of fun with the softball guys. It's been a lot of fun playing down on the banks of Kitty Vitty down there at Caribou Field, and got a great group of guys, as I mentioned on the last podcast. But I'll be throwing little bits out to the Fog Pirates every couple of weeks or so, because it's just a lot of fun right now. We're having a blast out in the field, and it's been fun to get back out there with the guys. Haven't played softball in a long time, so. Little sports going on. Obviously, Tampa Bay, they won the third game of the Stanley Cup final. Colorado now leads 2-1 after very, very huge first two games from Colorado. I mean, I don't think anybody expected that output at all. I mean, nobody's denying the fact of Colorado, but I don't think anybody expected to see them big blowouts. And then Tampa Bay came back at home last night and managed to pull that one out. So the series is 2-1 now. I think next game goes either Wednesday or Thursday. I haven't double-checked on that, but it's Game 4. We'll be back in Tampa as well. And hopefully we get another Tampa win, maybe get a great series out of it for the Stanley Cup final. Golden State Warriors managed to defeat and win the NBA Finals. Not shocking at all. I mean, Golden State are an absolute wagon. Steph Curry, I hate Draymond Green, but Klay Thompson, all these guys. Andrew Wiggins had an absolutely crazy series. Was really, great to see Wiggins, no doubt about it. Canadian guy. I mean, he's had ups and downs in his career, but he really excelled and was great to see that. So, NBA season's over. Looking forward to see what the Raptors have in the offseason and see if they can make any transactions to really bolster that lineup and get back into some serious playoff contention. I want to chat about the PGA for a minute. I'm not sure how many PGA fans we got listening on the podcast, but what's going on with this LIV Tour, which is basically a tour that's going on in the Saudi Arabia, I believe, and it's basically what it's doing. It's basically poaching the PGA players from the PGA and offering them a ton of money to just play over there. As of today, I'm recording on Tuesday, they announced Brooks Koepka just recently signed with the LIV Tour. I mean, that's a lot of big names after going over there. Dustin Johnson, Phil Mickelson. I mean, there's a bunch more, so it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. It's not looking great for the PGA. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, they're losing all their big names to this LIV Tour. It doesn't look like this LIV thing is even really accessible to viewers online, or it's not being broadcasted. So I'm not sure how that's all going to play out. So be interesting to keep an eye on that for sure. Obviously watching a lot of Blue Jays baseball right now. They're sitting at 38-29. Pitching's been tough. I'm not going to lie to you. Pitching is what we thought was going to be a great pitching season from our starting rotation has been tough. Hyunjin Ryu out for the rest of the season, and probably next season might be the end of his career, and more than likely probably the end of his career in Toronto after undergoing Tommy John surgery for his arm. So, not a 38-29, great season so far. Lots of baseball left. I say that every episode, and eventually it's going to catch up, but really got to get going. Had a tough series against the Yankees. Ended up pulling one out last Sunday, which was great. I mean, came back from behind and won that. It was a nice comeback victory, but like to see some more competitive baseball from the Blue Jays. No doubt about that. Iceberg Alley's been going on. I haven't been able to get down, unfortunately. Had a lot of friends and seen a lot of videos online who've been taking in the sights and sounds of the tent, also down on the banks of Kitty Vitty. It doesn't look like I'm going to get down at all, to be honest with you. Just my schedule is so hectic right now that it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get in. But still a bunch of shows left. Wednesday night, which is tonight if you're listening, is Tom Cochran, Chilliwack / Jordan. Then there's the band Perry, Roadhammers, Tyler Joe Miller. Kim Mitchell, Honeymoon Suite to Northern Pikes are on Friday night. Doors open at 5. If you're heading down to that one, lots of time afterwards to come down and check out the show Friday night at the Rock House, featuring yours truly, of course. And Saturday is the 2022 Come Home Year Iceberg Festival with Shannigannock, Irish Descendants, Sienna Sisters, Navigators, Celtic Connection, and Carolina East. So that's going to be a great night as well in the big tent. that about does it for what's going on in my world. So yeah, with that being said, I'm just going to flip it right over to Larry Foley, because we had a great long chat all about all about his career and everything that he's been up to, and it was really, really fun to catch up with Larry. I haven't chatted with him in a while, so stick around for a great chat with Larry Foley. And I'd like to welcome Mr. Larry Foley to the podcast. What's going on, Larry? Thanks for doing this with me today, man.
Hi, Dave. I was up all morning trying to figure out which hat.
Well, you found the right one.
I knew you'd be wearing a cap.
That's right. See?
And let's face it, Napoleon, Pharrell, Dave Whitty, hats are where it's at.
That's right.
So I thought, I can't let my man down here, my boy down.
That's
so
right.
I went with this one. I had it back up because I thought this was more Dave Whitty, but it was less me.
I actually have that same hat.
I don't even know what team it is. I just went to the store. I was like, I like this. Looks old school.
That is the Cleveland Indians. Once upon a time, they've actually changed their name now. They're not the Indians anymore. They are
they're the Guardians.
The Guardians.
So anyway, so here we are.
I love it.
I thought I'd go with my Stetson Open Road.
Looks great. Looks great. Thanks so much for doing this again, Larry. Really appreciate you taking time. I know you're busy. You got a crazy summer schedule. You're always a busy man, but it's always great to catch up with you. So thanks again for doing this. How's everything? All good?
For sure.
All right, let's get going. First off, I wanted to ask you a really funny question. This is just a hilarious thing. So I was doing a little research on Larry Foley today. Did you know that Larry Foley is a famous Australian boxer?
Yeah.
You must have known
he
that.
Looks like my dad. It's pretty weird.
It is. He does. I seen that and I laughed my ass off. But apparently Larry Foley, the Australian boxer, has made he's the legend of Australian boxing. I just love that about that. I thought that was so funny.
Yeah. He was a drinking, womanizing, would like to waste his money kind of guy. One of my people.
I love it. Yeah, exactly.
He does look like my people. He has the same crazy eyebrows. It's weird.
Yeah, he does. I know. I was looking at it. I was like, man, there's no way there's a relation. Anyway, it's super hilarious. Larry, I wanted to start off a little bit about kind of about you growing up. I mean, I know you grew up in Placentia. What were some of your influences, your early on musical influences, and maybe something that got you into music early on?
Man, thing about Placentia, bands. There was bands. Mm-hmm. We were going around on our bikes, 11, 12 years old. And there were sound checks up by the Star Hall. There were sound checks up by the Latin Quarter. There were sound checks over by the Pink Lady, which became the Studio 4, which later became the Lighthouse. So, I just saw it early on. I was like, I want to do that. That looks great. And I also remember lots of family events where, we had live bands. And I was all about that, and it just got me early on, I suppose, But I was late to the barbecue just the same. I didn't learn to play until later on in high school, and kind of got more serious about it at university, really. Late bloomer, you might say.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. I mean, over a couple of gigs. Obviously, we've shared the stage numerous times. We actually shared the stage in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
Several countries, Dave. We're international in scope, my friend.
That's right. We are international. I love that. So you grew up in Placentia. As you mentioned, you were kind of a late bloomer to the game with playing music, but once you moved to St. John's and started going to university, that's kind of when things kind of kicked off a bit, right?
Well, we got to back the bus up a bit now. I went to University of Nova Scotia.
Right. Sorry. Yes, I knew that. St. FX, right?
Yeah. So when I went up there, I was just like every other schmuck with, 3 chords and a dorm room to entertain. And I got kind of good at that. And then also going away, but I'm sure it happens to everybody, right? You go away and all of a sudden hearing a Liam Clancy song and you're like, oh, I'm so meanwhile, I'm in Nova Scotia, right?
Yeah.
I'm not in Australia, but there was kind of a thing happening. I ended up being a part of it because that whole groundswell East Coast Celtic thing was starting to happen in the early 90s. And I was in university then in Nova Scotia. And I was a part of this thing we started the Celtic Society. Society is a very sophomoric thing in university, right? So we started the Celtic Society, which was basically, music and drinking society. I know you're shocked, Dave.
Oh, yes. Appalled as well. Right? Appalled as well.
But, we started having these gigs and we'd have them on Wednesday nights, kind of like a folk club, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And we did it up above a Chinese restaurant in Antigonish called the Orient Lounge. And it was basically a bar that wasn't being used for anything. So I guess we talked the guy into letting us use it. And it started to take off. We're getting crowds of people. And the next thing you know, we used to bring people in for gigs. And early days was Ashley McIsaac, Natalie McMaster,
right.
Mary Jane Lamont, all of these people to me were at the time, wow, talented young people from Cape Breton, man. They got a lot of great players up here. So then I finished up at St. FX. Then I went to graduate school in Ireland for a year. So that was 93, 94. I come home a year later. Jesus, all these people are fucking rock stars. What happened?
Exactly.
What happened? I turned on the radio and Ashley McIsaac's got a fiddle tune and it's like #1 or whatever the fuck it was at the time, right?
Playing on pop radio or something like that.
This is insane. It was absolutely insane, right? It was like anybody think about your favorite local open mic and you go to it and you go away for a while and go back and everybody's on the radio. Like it just blew my mind. So of course, I was like, geez, I got to get back in on this.
Yeah, exactly.
And I made good friends with Jason Whalen, who was also in Ireland when I was over there.
Yep.
And he and I tossed around the idea of getting a band on the go. And he went to high school with Pat Moran. And Brian Kenny and George Morgan had been in the Plankerdown band. And that had sort of disbanded. So it just sort of fell together one summer. I came home from Ireland, I guess in the fall. And that following spring, we got it together just for the summer. And geez, that's nearly 30 years ago. So,
yeah, incredible. No, an incredible run. Absolutely. And then
totally. I mean, I never set out to be in this at all. Like playing for me was just something I did for fun. And these days I envy people who do it for fun. it's like, hey, I'd like being a plumber. Come over to my house, work on my pipes. Like I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, no, I understand that absolutely, especially as a gigging musician. I mean, there's a grind to it, no doubt, Larry. I mean, and you've felt that grind, and you've worked it a lot, man. It's an interesting life, no doubt. I mean, there's many ups, many downs, many in betweens. There's all over the place. I mean, it's a whirlwind industry to be living in, and you've kind of lived through it all. I mean, you've lived through that big boom in East Coast music, but then you've also gone through a time when CD music was very, very popular, when people were really selling a lot of CDs. And now you've also gradually moved into the age of digital music, which is a completely different ballgame in itself. Like, what are some of your thoughts on that change and that transition?
Well, you know what? It's because essentially when we started out, I don't think much changed for young people with musical dreams from 1955 to 1995. Right? It was get your shit together and get a bunch of people that you like playing with, have an idea. And we just sort of took off. I mean, I was playing with older guys who were more experienced, and I was the token front man, really. But we got together. But because of that time, like you said, the means of production had gotten doable. We were able to make a local CD and go out and start flogging it. We got in a van and went from here to Vancouver, man. That was the only way to do it.
Yep.
And we built a little following here and there. I mean, we were no household name or anything, but we were successful enough to stay at it full on, like touring and stuff with an agent, a manager, and we had our own van. That was cool. That was about like my A. Frank Willis moment. But we got our own van. It wasn't really ours, but we were paying for it.
That's right. Yeah.
So and then it's weird. Life just takes you follow the course. It's about it's about wherever you jump on to ride. So we went through that time where you can make a few bucks on CDs, lug them around and sell them yourself. And then we got signed. We got a record deal, which was cool. Who'd have thought that was ever going to happen, right? Yep. Major label distribution. It was a company based at an affiliate of the McCain's folks, called Loggerhead Records. That was a whole other trip. Man, it was like, okay, well, we're doing another record now. The funny one, I learned somewhere along the way, I heard about a signing bonus. So I was like, we got to get a signing bonus. What's that? I don't know, but we're going to get one. They said, well, how much? I said, I don't know. I said, what, $10,000? I said, I think we need $10,000 to sign. And we got it.
Oh, perfect. Wicked.
Well, we had a few debts when you're a traveling band, you got some debts, right?
Oh, yeah, big time.
Really, we probably would have packed it in only for that record deal came along when it did.
Right.
And band members come and go, man. I think the boat has taken a lot of different shapes over the years, and I'm too stubborn to give it up, right? Like, I'm kind of the last man standing just because, I don't know, just because.
Well, there's something about longevity. I mean, there's something about, you mentioned it earlier. It's a grind. There's ups and downs, obviously, but there's still a passion in there, and you're still, there's also people, I always laugh at people like, people's ideas of success sometimes are so bewildered that they think that success is only on this national level where you are just world famous, and it's not about that. I mean, to me,
No, man.
music and success has always been about paying my bills and making a living and being able to do something that I feel happy with at
100%.
the end of the day and I feel loved about. You know what I mean?
100%. Like, I mean, I turned 50 this year. I've been at this since I was whatever, 22 or 23. You know, and for me, it's just always been about being able to go to work, whatever form that took. Am I going on the road for 6 weeks with a band called the Punters, or you know, I'm playing on Shamrock City tonight, 6 o'clock. I'm equally as excited.
Yeah,
I get to have a guitar in my hand and work.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
But I know what you're saying, and you know, some people, you know, their self-worth is valued by how many units they're selling. I've met people like that. I know people like that. It's like, man, that's a hollow existence, right?
It is, yeah.
You know, and we all fall prey to that for a while. Like, I found with the band thing, we were doing great. It was like, it wasn't about where you were, it's about where you're not. You always had someone at the label flipping out about something and this, that, the other thing, and oh, we need to do this. And we need a national exposure, blah, 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 right? Yeah, well, you know, you need Sonny, you know, you need a drummer that swings, you know? Those guys. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm just trying to make some music. Like, next thing you know, you're fighting for your own songs to go on your own album.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of shit, you know? Like, all right, we got a song for you, boys. And like, that is a total piece of shit. I like, you got it. You relate. You're an artist, right? And it sounds cheesy to say that, but if you don't feel it, you know, I mean, yes, you can sing the Black Velvet Band every night of the week if you need to. That's different. You know, you're providing a, you know, shooting fish in a barrel kind of scenario. But when it comes to recording something, you know, it has to mean something to you. You know, and that caused into a whole. Dave, I should be on the couch, I think, for this. But you know, like I sort of put aside my own stuff. I have a backlog of songs of my own that I don't play and haven't recorded because I really don't see the sense of it anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's a terrible attitude, right? Horrible. But I for me, it's more about being. I always try to be a better musician and be a better guitar player and a better singer, and that's what's kept me doing it all this time. Like, I'm here right now. So before you call, I have my guitar. One of my guitars. I have it all apart.
Yep.
See this? And I'm installing one of these. What's that?
Oh, the tone wood amps. Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah,
no
they're neat.
affiliation. Sorry, a box. Because I'm always looking for the better mousetrap that makes when I go to my gig, it sound better to me or something, right? Like, that's an obsession. That's a different ball of wax altogether. But the thread being here that after all this time, I'm still doing it for some reason. Mm-hmm. You know, I haven't started. As Dermot O'Reilly said, it beats selling real estate.
Exactly. Well, one thing, I mean, you've always been incredible at, Larry, is finding different avenues and finding different ways to play music and to do it in different variations and to play with different groups, different bands on different stages, different nights. I mean, you've got the Punters, you've got Larry Foley solo, but one thing I wanted to ask you about is the 8-track favorites that has been a super popular thing that has happened over the years. I mean, a lot of arts and culture center shows and big events like that. Like, that's just another piece of the puzzle, right?
It was weird. That's another thing that happened by accident. Mm-hmm. Back to what we were saying about going to house parties and stuff, right? I was like, I got sick of people not listening. And hey, Larry, hey, Dave, play a song. And then you start playing, everybody starts talking, and they're right next to you.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What did you just wanted me to play to put some, you know, mojo ambiance in the room? You don't actually want to listen to me. But there's two parts to this, how the 8-track started. When we were doing long road trips on the highway back in the day, we all used to take turns picking a CD. Remember those? Mm-hmm. So, you know, everybody had.
I've got thousands. I've got thousands still.
Right? Yeah, me too. Yeah, a lot of them got my face on. But everyone take turns playing their CDs, and we sort of got in. Myself and Pat Moran got into. Someone had a Roger Miller box set, and we played all that. And then let's pick up the Hank Williams and Charlie Pride, and you know, we started listening to Junior Brown, and we sort of got on this sort of. You know, behind the scenes, the band was on a country kick, you know? Mm-hmm. And of course, it was being that at the time I was about to turn 30, and, you know, you start getting a bit nostalgic as you get a little bit older. I'm very nostalgic now. So I just started learning a few of those songs just for the laugh, you know, and singing them around the house. My parents all of a sudden were like, we should play some more of that. And then I had a folk night. I did a folk night. I was the guest at down at the Ship Inn at the time. And I just threw in, I did the song. I'll never forget it. What's it called? Oh, it won't come to me now. I keep saying Saginaw, Michigan, but it's not that one. Anyway, one of these old songs, I played it. And Bridget Noonan was the manager running the folk night. She said, can you come back and do a whole night of country songs? And at the time, it was like, I guess it was kind of ironic to play that stuff then, you know, because everything goes in cycles, you know, and country kind of fallen off the map a little bit. But that old stuff, everybody was at the right age to remember it, you know. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, we had a band doing it. I was going to do a solo, and then I went down to see Ron one night, and Barry Hillier was playing with him. And never happens. Ron got me up for a song. Ron Hynes, for those of you watching at home. And said, hey, Laura.
Yes.
Let's get up for a song. So I got up and I played Poncho and Lefty with Barry. And I said, I got this gig coming up doing all this old country stuff. He said, I knows all that. I said, a bit of Merle, a bit of Johnny Cash. Yes.
Perfect.
So then we had two.
Yeah.
And then Crystal Drew was after getting a pedal steel for Christmas.
Yeah.
And we were all over to Barry Canning's house, and Chris had the pedal steel. I hadn't talked to him in a while. And I was like, Jesus. So I got this country gig coming up. You should bring that thing. So then there was three.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was me, Barry, and then Chris. And then Barry and DeBuzz insisted on having a drummer. Right? I saw this as like a little Shuffle Demons kind of thing, right? I said, so George, just bring your snare and stand up front. You know, we did that once with the four of us. And then George said, fuck this, I'm playing the kit next time. So, and I was playing electric and acoustic.
Nothing like making a drummer uncomfortable, like making him stand out front with a snare drum.
Right? But I had this vision. You remember? You probably don't remember, but not what were they called? Not the Shuffle. Maybe it's a Shuffle. Not the Shuffle Demons. Razorbacks. Okay. They were like a rockabilly thing in Canada. But he used to play the Suitcase, standing up.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I thought it was cool as hell. And I thought, let's do that. But anyway, that didn't work. And then people started coming to see us. It's like a lot. And we were no country band by a little stretch. But we were wearing the hats and had all the gear on, and it was a bit of a novelty thing, right? It was like, and we were all known for different things, so it kind of had that traveling Wilburys kind of vibe about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't really take it too seriously. And then Pat Brand decided he just showed up one night. To my knowledge, he just showed up. He's like, I gotta get it. He just showed up. I don't remember asking him. I don't remember. He just came down with the fiddle and a hat, and so there we were. And everyone thinks I'm some kind of business genius. Wow, look, Larry got his two bands working. It just happened that way. So I could keep the Punters working inside the 8-tracks because the same four of us were in there for, again, now, and it's happened a few times over the years. And we had another gig a while later, and Chris couldn't make it. Chris was gone out of town. Oh, Brothers in Stereo was on the go then. So Chris used to be gone on Scattered Time. So we were following the Patsy Cline show at the Majestic. Spirit of Newfoundland was on the go down there then. And Sandy and them were doing this Patsy Cline show. I said, well, fuck it. Sandy's already down there. He's probably got a cowboy hat on already. So let's just get him to sit in. And he played with us that night. Like, he didn't know who was coming. He said, Larry never playing. He didn't know. Here we show up with the hats and everything on. He's like, this is awesome. And he was there ever since.
That's awesome.
He just never left.
Yep.
He just never left. So that was the core of it. And it kept going. It's still going. You know, we're doing Salmon Festival in a couple of weeks.
No,
so,
that's incredible. I got to ask you something funny, okay? So I was doing...
I am wearing pants.
Okay, good. I'm not
for
actually.
A chain.
I'm not. I got my phone out here because I want to read this off my phone. I was searching your name earlier. I was trying to just dig up a little bit of not dirt, but I hope to find some dirt. But I couldn't find any online. Anyways, it's only myth that goes around. But I found a post from a gentleman. I think it might have been yesterday. I could be wrong in this. Did you pick up a random traveler yesterday or 2 days ago, or is this a while ago?
A whole bunch of them.
So there's a post here. I want to read it out for the folks listening at home. Cross-posting this from the FB page of a friend of my sister's from Miramichi, New Brunswick. Larry is a star in so many ways. So we arrived in Newfoundland. This is from a tourist, I guess, and they'd posted this, and it just came up. I searched your name, and I found this post online. I was like, Jesus, it's only yesterday or a couple days ago. It says, so we arrived in Newfoundland, but unfortunately our luggage didn't make the trip. It wanted to visit Toronto, apparently. After supper, we were walking around trying to find supplies, contact lenses, toothpaste, etc. We were far away from our place, cold, tired, and decided to call a cab. A nice lad at the gas station stopped and asked if he were lost. He offered to drive us to Shoppers and then to our place, and after he assured us he was not a serial killer, we jumped in. His name is Larry Foley, musician, small world. He played with a lad from Miramichi University. He was hilarious and kind, and we're going to watch him play Tuesday night. Is that tonight?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Karen Curry Newman will be there to see you.
I was getting gas, and these four people, they just, you could tell, well, you know they're not from here because you don't recognize them, right?
Yeah, and they probably got an umbrella.
Yeah, they looked a bit shagged up, right? So I said, "Boss, are you lost or something?" And then they tell me the story, and they said, "Well," I said, "get in a cab. It could be a job, like for some reason it's really difficult to get a taxi in St. John's.
Oh, it's miserable. Yeah,
it's brutal, right?" So I said, "You know what?" Because this was down by the Delta. I had played, I don't know, somewhere. I was out of Raleigh's, I think, and then I drove over to get a drop of gas. So I said, "Look, where are you going?" They want to go to a Shoppers. Well, there's one up the hill. And I said, "Where are you going then?" They said, "Cochrane Street." I said, "Well, get in the car, but I'll give you a run up, But then we got in the car. It turns out they're neighbors with a friend of mine that I went to university with.
I love that. I just stumbled upon that, and I said, "Man, that is so classic, Larry." You're just like, I could just see you now, like, Jesus, boys, I can't leave you now, but get in. Come on,
yeah,
we go.
I know. I felt bad for them. I've been there, man. It sucks.
I wanted to
be there all night waiting for a taxi, right?
I know. And it's not a far run around, but if you don't know, Jesus, you're stranded. I mean,
no, absolutely.
Weather could turn, anything could happen, right? I want to ask you about your little stint in politics, Larry. Can you talk about this a little bit? You did a little run with the Liberal. You ran for Liberal. I think it was out home, wasn't it? I believe. Can you just discuss that a little bit and what that was all about and how that went for you?
Sure. A friend of mine called me up one day and said, "You should think about running." I said, "What? No, I don't think so. I mean, I have a degree in political science, and I'm a bit of, I'm an avid news hound, and, locally and internationally, I kind of I like that sort of thing."
Yep.
And got me thinking, and kind of, I wouldn't say talk me into it, but the fact that someone that I respected thought I could do a good job at that. And the more I thought about it, I was like, well, what have I got to lose?
Exactly.
I've always been one to, stick my neck out there with stuff. Same with music, same with starting a country band was like, and rocks thrown at you in the 90s, right? Or whatever it was, early 2000s. People laughed at us with our hats on. Mm-hmm. Better not be laughing now, boys. So I thought, there was kind of a thrill to it, to put your name on the line for something. And party politics never meant much to me. I suppose I would align myself with a lot of social democratic ideas. But and I grew up in a house of PCs, Catholic blue. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of torn about that, to be honest. But there was the times the major shift in politics was happening at that time, but that was still going on. So I said, what the hey, and I went out and I beat the pavement and I put up a lot of signs, and I played every angle I knew, and I didn't win. And that's not the best part. Okay, well, I didn't win. That happens, right? First time out, no big shocker. But I came pretty close. And I had a really good campaign because I went full on, right? Like, because you can't, and you're good at this, like what we're doing right now. You take what you know, what you do, and we're all trying to sell ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
So I had a lot of experience at that because really we're marketing people, whether you want to admit it or not, right?
Absolutely.
So I took all that I learned from being in the biz and applied it to a political run. And it was only for the nomination, but it actually ran like a full-on campaign. So I didn't win the first time. Now how's this? So I didn't win. Okay. That sucks. And they redrew the districts. And all of a sudden the seat the race nullified and they had to run it again. So I was at the urinal, Shamrock City, and this where it gets all Watergate on you right here, right? Making your Watergate. Guy next to me says, who's in politics, who's a member, right? And he said the district is bigger now. There's more votes. He said it's a different ball game. You got a chance to win this. You almost won it the last time. And I like the full.
Oh, yeah.
So I hate to lose.
Yeah.
Everybody fucking hates losing. I hate losing,
Yep.
especially when I put so much into it. So anyway, like the fool, I runs again, harder the second time, and the results were still the same.
Right.
You know, because I counted on these other however many thousand people or hundreds of people that were added to the mix, but none of them came out because they the things you learn, right? They didn't recognize the change in the district. They didn't want to be part of Placentia, St. Mary's, and Capes, or whatever it was, and they sort of stayed away from it. And the system was set up really weird too. I mean, it's hard enough to get people to come out and vote, right? When it's for real. And trying to get them to come out and vote in a nomination process, it was insane, right? But the seat was open, and that's why there was so much competition for it. And I'm glad I did it because, well, the takeaway, which my wife tried to convince me, was like, Larry, people are take you a little bit more seriously now than they did before. They realized, well, you got some guts to go take something like this on, and you followed it through. And I said, yeah, I guess so. But I'm glad I didn't win. But I'm glad that the process of putting yourself out there, and man, having to go up to everybody and their dog and say, hey, man, I'm trying to do this thing. So it's humbling from the get-go, right? It's very, very humbling in every way. But I think I came out of it stronger. I don't think I'd ever want to do it again.
Yeah, I bet it's definitely challenging for sure.
People bring it up to me all the time, and I was like, no, bye.
No.
And I will tell you one thing I did learn. Don't matter where you're from, don't run where you don't live.
Right. Because you were in St. John's.
You're coming back here now. Right. Like I never really left Placentia. Well, my parents still live there. I'm still going home all the time. But people don't see you all the time, and the collective consciousness sort of views you differently once you leave a place.
Yep.
But no, I might run again and win. Who knows? Because right, that's how that works. But I'm too interested in other things.
Well, speaking of other things,
last thing.
Oh yeah, sorry.
It's great to get back to myself after all that was over.
Right.
I was like, okay, it's like Jerry Lee Lewis. I might be going to hell, but I'm going to go play my piano. I put my guitar on my shoulders and I went downtown. And I was like, okay,
back to work.
It's not bad being me. Being me is okay.
Yep. Speaking of like put yourself out there and another thing that, kind of similar to what I've done with this podcast is just kind of another angle and that kind of thing is the TV show that you did, This Old Guitar. I thought that was really neat. You had me on as a guest. It was a lot of fun shooting that episode, and you got a couple seasons under the belt. Talk a little bit about that program and where the inspiration for that came from. It was kind of like what we're doing right now. You kind of shoot the shit, but you throw a couple guitars in the hands, right?
Yeah. I can't remember. I don't know. It was probably around. I don't know. I think it was probably around. I did 6 seasons. I think it started around 2012 or something like that. Oh, and well, like you said, you're always trying to reinvent yourself, and I kind of felt like I was at a bit of a dead end for what I was at, like band things tapered off, and I just needed to try something new. And we had just moved into this house a little while. And, I had a basement full of guitars. It's one thing to have a pile of guitars when you're a single guy in your own house. Next thing you're in a family and you have a bunch of guitars. And I was like, man, I got to I got to do something with all this. Like, because the collection sort of started owning me, right? And I'm like, why don't I pitch a show about guitars? So I went to one place, they wanted nothing to do with it. They were like, no, don't see it. So I was like, oh, well, so much for that idea. Then I think, I was nominated for an ECMA, and the folks from Eastlink wanted to do a little bit on the nominees, right? So guy's name's Gage Miranda. I don't know if you know Gage or not. See him around town a bit. Nice young fella. And while he was doing the segment on me about the nomination, I pitched the idea to him. He said, man, that's an awesome idea. He said, let me talk to the people. I'll get back to you. Sure enough, they said, hey, let's do it.
Cool.
So, 6 seasons later, it was kind of fun. Yeah, it was. It's going to be a neat time capsule in 10 or 20 years to look back on it.
Well, you featured everybody from. There's so many different. That's the neat thing about it. You're not only talking about guitars, but you also got to feature a lot of great artists from all over the province and people you've connected with, people you probably play with, people you probably might have wanted to connect with. And it was a great opportunity to connect with those type of people, right?
100%. Like I tried to. The thing was, it was really difficult and really easy at the same time because there had to be a guitar of interest and a person of interest that went together. right? So the story had to be intertwined, and everybody loves a good yarn. Sure, that's all.
Well, I kind of remember
story,
actually.
right?
I kind of remember. I mean, I play a Taylor. I've been playing my Taylor religiously, and I remember you having me on. You said, "Well, we already did a Taylor 314. What else you got in your What else you got in your bag there?" I said,
yeah.
I got a Martin there or something. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, let's talk about that one. Yeah.
Well, I was real nerdy about it off the get-go. Like, okay, well, we covered this, but then as time went on, I realized it's more about the person. It's more about the personality, right? Because off the top, I was really like, okay, well, we're going to talk about the Martin D18, which was popularized in 1930, and you know, it was just sort of the finite details of guitars, and I was just too nerdy about it, right? But as time went on, like by the last season, I really slacked off, and I don't want people to come on and sing and play and be themselves, and you know. But it was a good ride. I loved it. COVID kind of put the kibosh on it, and we never really went back to it after that. But I felt like I was done. You know, 6 seasons, 12 shows a season. That's a lot of shows, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of felt I'd made that statement. So I don't know what's next for me. Stay tuned, I suppose.
Larry, that's one thing I wanted to ask you was about. I mean, you mentioned COVID when you're talking about this old guitar. One thing that you did, I mean, and a lot of other musicians did as well, but I mean, you were on the go flat out with the COVID shows. It was a real interesting time. I mean, we're still fucking dealing with this COVID shit. Don't get me wrong, but it's obviously in a bit of a different sense. But when everything was really locked down, I mean, you, tons of different musicians really went online and really did a lot of fun shows. What was that like for you, and the reach and all that stuff? They were pretty interesting. I really enjoyed them. I got to say, I was happy to get back in front of people. Don't get me wrong, but it was a pretty fun little time, right?
Oh, not me. I would have been happy to never go in front of people again the rest of my life. Not me, man. I loved it. I loved it. After almost 30, a few years ago, after 25 years of making a living, singing my guts out, and you know how much, right? Like night after night after night, I fell in love with playing online.
Yeah.
I suppose in my brain, it connected with my little TV show I had, you know, so my brain was working the same way. But I felt that I got right into it. I got right into the songs. I got right into how I was interpreting them. I got right into the stories of the songs. I found I really connected with it. You know, I had my own little audience that were loyal to me, which I loved. And then we went back to the clubs. Everybody's drinking and not paying attention. And I'm like, I missed that. I missed that intimacy that online thing gave us. And of course, people are back to being distracted now. You're not going to keep anyone's attention without a pandemic.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, one of the most interesting things and best things of those for me was just being able to connect with people probably outside of St. John's who don't normally get to see you on occasion. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And they're so happy that you're doing this. And all they want to do was just say hello and throw in a request for a song and the way I always found is if you could just throw a little hello to people. Hello, Ronnie. How you doing, Mike? Great to see you, Johnny.
I want more Hertz.
Yeah.
Hertz. Hertz.
It worked out. I mean, and people were very, very supportive of that as well. I mean, sent along tips and really kept me afloat, honestly. It really kept me above water.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me too. I made more money playing online than I make now playing downtown night after night.
Yep. I know. It's the same way. And you're not out, and you're at home drinking your own beer.
Yeah. I had one guy send my wife, email my wife money, not to me. He emailed it to my wife to go buy me beer. Great. I was like,
man,
this is to buy Larry a dozen beer. This is not for his tip jar. That's why I'm not sending it to him. I was like,
that's pretty good, though. I love that. I think that's hilarious. Yeah, I love that.
He sent me 25 American. I got 6 dozen beer.
I had a guy, I mean, God love him. My phone died one night. I was just recording off my phone, similar to what you did, right? And my phone died. Yeah. But whatever way it worked, I had like my mic and stuff through a little system plugged into my phone, and I couldn't also charge my phone at the same time. Anyways, I get a email the next day. Hey, man, what's your mailing address? I just said, I sent it along. I said, what's up? He said, I'm going to send you out this specialized charger I just found on Amazon. I mean, thanks, man. Right? I appreciate it. That was awesome. Yeah. Very, very cool. And that was a guy from Ontario who had seen me play like once. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%. I'm sure it was the same for you. For me, it just gave me a lot of value in what I did all of a sudden, because night after night, man, it can get pretty soulless out there, right?
Yep.
And you're just, and you fall in that love with it all the time. And you have one night and it's great, people love you. Next night, someone says something ignorant to you, and, or takes a joke the wrong way, and it's like, oh, what am I doing, right? But I found with that, it just filled me up. I got all kinds of, feeling the love, feeling the energy, but it allowed me to fall back in love with music again.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you do it for a living, it is your work, for better or for worse.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I just found it was like somebody changed the channel. That'll tell you how old I am. I just went, change the channel. Not change the channel.
How do you call someone on a phone now?
Yeah. No, Mike Hanrahan goes.
Even older. Yeah.
I'll give you a call.
Oh my God. I thought like a pretty neat thing that the listeners might get a kick out of is your relationship with Ron Hynes. I mean, I know you mentioned him earlier, and I know you did a co-write with Ron on Dirt Poor. Was there any other co-writes that I'm maybe unaware of, or was that just one? And I know you obviously had a relationship, and I mean, interesting enough. I mean, we've chatted about it in person a lot, and I always get a great kick. I mean, I always love the Ron impression. We always get a kick out of that one. But can you talk about maybe some of the the highlights and the life of that and Ron as? Yeah. I always found that very interesting.
Absolutely. I've been watching, and actually doing what we're doing today reminds me of it, but this will make sense in a second. The series Jerry Seinfeld does, driving around getting coffee with comedians.
Yeah, right.
Like, I feel that's what we're doing here now, right? You're Seth Rogen, by the way, and I'm Jerry. But
it makes sense actually in a lot of ways.
Yeah, a lot of ways, right? But that show sort of reflects some mentorship stuff, and like they talk about, Eddie Murphy talks about going out to the Copa or going to the Improv or going to the comic strip and seeing Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it was very much like that. Like, for me, I grew up, I was that age. I was, 12 or so in the 80s when the Wonderful Grand Band was huge. And I always identified with Ron being a Bayman for some reason. I had an aunt who is from Fairyland, right? An aunt by marriage, my Aunt Mary. And so that sort of drew a connection. It was like, because before that, TVs, people were all in Hollywood or New York or in the TV. You didn't think about it. Mm-hmm. But with that, something went off in my brain about Ron and being from around the Bay and being on television. Mm-hmm. I think we're going deep now, Dave. Jeez, Dave, we're going deep. So when I got around to meeting Ron, we were on the same bill at Holy Heart one night. I think it was a benefit concert or something. And this would have been, 94, 95. I met him in the stairway, and Jesus, it was like Liberace walked in, or Elvis, it was like, yeah. Jesus. Wow, he had the hat on, and at the time he had the bolero jacket, the black one with the Marty Stewart type one, the crop back on it, Even going down the stairs, he was always side on. He didn't say hello, kiss me arse, nothing. Like, he's just there, and he goes, "So you got any label interest yet?" I was like, Ron Hynes just asked me if I had any label interest. I was like, what fucking planet am I on all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
I guess, there was a bit of buzz about the band. Things were then, right? I mean, there was very little going on. So you had the Irish Descendants that come along, and the Anna Sisters and Great Big Sea, and we were sort of in the mix there somewhere. We were kind of like the Ramones of that whole scene.
Right. Great. That's a great comparison. I love that.
Guitars and wanging it out, right? We weren't that cutesy at all.
Yeah.
So for Ron to ask me that, I was quite flattered. And then he said, I'll drop over sometime. It's like, I thought there was someone else in the room. He was living over on Queens Road at the time. They were just off Rollins Cross. Mm-hmm. So I went over and hung out, had a big bowl of dope on the table. Weed, like a bowl like this, right? I was like, man, I've never could smoke dope, never any good at it.
Yeah.
But here you are sitting down with Ron. It was like being with Willie Nelson. What are you going to do? Not smoke it?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like glued onto the chair.
Trying to hold together a conversation.
Ron is pontificating about Hank Williams and, And but he was, but all jokes aside, he was such a magnanimous character. He was very helpful to me. Now, I don't know because probably because he never saw me as too much of a threat. I got that from the Jerry Seinfeld show too. Richard Pryor wouldn't go in anywhere if Eddie Murphy was there because he was too threatened by him, right? I was like, maybe that's why Ron was always so nice because he wasn't threatened by me. But he was very much a mentor. This is a cool story. When we got back to the record deal, so we get this ream, I don't know if they might have faxed it, reams of paper, right? It was right out of it like a movie. Here's like a bunch of guys that really don't know but it's fit to eat with a record contract to look at. And we didn't have any money to get a lawyer or what the fuck. I mean, we start combing through it, right? Well, I remember there's all these, legalese, of course. So I said, what are we going to do with this? And I said, wait, now. I said, well, I wonder if Ron could be any help on this one. He said that if I ever needed anything. So myself and our manager, Peter McKenzie, we went over, sat down at Ron's kitchen table on Queens Road, and he went through that contract line by line.
Wow, incredible.
And I guarantee you there's no entertainment lawyer in the country who could have been more knowledgeable or be able to decipher and interpret what that was saying.
Mm-hmm.
It was incredible. It was incredible. Like, I remember, I'll never forget the one line in it, like, you had your royalties covered, the territory, this territory, all international boundaries, and the known universe.
Interesting.
I suppose they got high expectations for us.
The known universe is incredible.
They're talking, and I laughed. Right? I thought he was joking. No, the known universe. And he was, but he let it. He said this contract is 100% in favor of the record company. There's not one thing in here for you. Don't sign this.
No way. Wow.
Don't sign this. Don't sign this.
And you probably would have just signed your life away.
Yeah. Yes.
Of course.
Except I knew about the signing bonus. So I said, all worst case scenario, we're going to get 10 grand out of it. That's the way I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So he went through it line by line, told us what we should have in here, and have in here to favor us and about our royalties and protecting yourself and, your recoupment periods. And, this is, I haven't seen a contract since, but I don't know how much they've changed. But that's a really cool experience. That's the side around you probably, most people wouldn't know about,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just the wealth of knowledge, I would imagine that was.
It was crazy, but he was just, like I said, I guess he'd been through it all so many times. And he knew it inside out, right? And he knew how to gauge the amount of money per album and advances and stuff like that. So,
Wow, that's so incredible. Yeah. I bet you so many people would not ever think that. Most people probably just think Ron's just down there playing tunes and doing his thing and whatever, but just being Ron. Yeah. Just a wealth of knowledge.
Now, you'd also, around that same time, I remember I was over there. No, I wasn't there every day or anything. I was probably there a handful of times over, a couple of years.
Yeah.
And he was playing at the Ship Inn, which was the Ship Inn at the time. So, Laura, coming down tonight? I said, yeah, man, most definitely. So I going down, I'm going down to see Ron tonight, my buddy Ron, right? I'm not see my buddy Ron tonight. And they go down, and he's there, the place is full, right? I go, hey, Ron. He just walks right past me. Never said a fucking word. Never. He just gave me that dead stare as he walked by.
Taking back a peg, you're like, fuck.
But he was funny like that. But, some people would be slighted by that. I thought it was fucking hilarious. I was like, this is that's so Ron, right? Like,
exactly.
He was on then. He was either on or off, right? But when he was himself, man, there was no funnier guy on the planet. Jesus Christ, he was funny.
No, that's incredible. I know you still got a lot on your books. I mean, Jesus, you're playing flat out. Can you tell us a little bit about where you're playing these days and where folks can find you too?
Yeah, man. Well, again, back to the post-COVID world, I'm pretty much back to doing full-on solo gigs.
Yeah.
And because of COVID, I've completely fallen in love with it.
Yeah.
I used to hate playing solo. I couldn't stand it. I would do it, out of necessity because someone told me a long time ago, never say no to anything if you're going to make it in this business or try to make it or be able to work. So I live by that. I never say no to anything that I can do. So I still stick to that. But for years I hated playing solo because I was used to being in a band and this big sound. And then I show up and it was like, all the parts are missing.
And like,
and I wasn't that.
And sometimes just the camaraderie of like on stage of just being with a group of fellas. I mean, somebody falls down, you got somebody that, like, you know, if you're watching in the crowd, somebody trips up, you got the boys there to have a laugh with about it or whatever. It's a different on stage presence for sure.
Yeah, and the psychology of it too. It's pretty lonely up there, man.
It is, yeah.
And you know, there's a lot of thoughts go between your ears, and you know, it's.
But it also gives you the freedom to just do whatever the fuck you want on stage.
That is the attractive part. That is the attractive part. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I kind of switched over from just strumming, and I dove headfirst into playing fingerstyle guitar. You know what I'm talking about.
I know that firsthand because I remember walking in and watching you. I remember the first time I ever really met you. I mean, obviously I knew who you were. And I knew you from playing around, but I've never ever spoke to you. I remember you were playing at Kelly's Pub one night, and I came in, and the minute you got off stage, I said, "Holy fuck, man! How do I do that guitar style? Like, how do I play like that?" And it was the Travis style picking is what you were doing. I mean, which I've fallen in love with ever since. I mean, I bought a classical and I've trained myself how to play that way, and I do that quite often now myself. Because it's so lovely when you're doing that solo stuff. But I remember coming in and going, "Holy shit! I've never seen anybody play like that style." Finger picking and it's so captivating. It's a very beautiful style to play, especially with solo stuff, right?
It is. Well, it fills out the whole thing because, you know, you get your little bass thing going with your thumb, and then you can play some melody bits on top. So since I've embraced that, and I by no means have I mastered, not even close. Go see Chris Hennessy if you want to see someone do it right. But I found that whole thing. See, I always create these new challenges for myself. That's how I've stayed in this and stayed interested all this time, you know. And since I've embraced that, I love playing by myself now because I can get right into it. I'm playing, and I've gotten better at playing melodies, giving myself a solo while I'm singing. Because I used to find playing solo, but you know, just doing so. Man, the songs go by pretty fast when there's no fiddle parts.
Exactly.
You know? Well, you're just oh god.
Take your 3.5 minute song and it turns into a 2 minute song. You end up doing 300 songs in a 3-hour set. I feel. Oh my
god, it's a you know yourself. 10 minutes on stage is a lifetime.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it's a lifetime. No one knows. That's one thing that I don't. Unless you've done it, you can't grasp.
No,
how long time is when you're on stage or on a microphone.
Like especially solo. I mean, especially solo because it's just you. You have nobody else to bounce any ideas off. You can't laugh at anybody on stage. There's no joking. It's just you and the audience. And if you can get them. And you got them at the right place and right time, you're going to have a good show. I mean, that's always how I've looked at it. You know what I mean?
100%. Oh, I'm only ever as good as the audience.
Yeah.
You know, I'll go down some nights I don't even speak.
Because isn't that weird how that happens?
Yeah, but it's just the vibe of the room, right? Yeah. And I think I'm doing them a service. I don't think I'm being rude. I'll take the temperature, right? I've been, okay, there's a bunch of couples and they're all chatting. Well, that's what they came in here for. So tonight I'm just background.
Exactly.
And I'm totally okay with that. Now, if I was just up strumming, hey, boys, how are you tonight? That don't work. But because of the fingerstyle thing, I can just lay back, noodle away.
But you nailed it. People love that. People
that stuff, right?
Yep. People just want to go down. There's nights when people just want to go down and they don't want to be captivated by a show. They just want to go down and socialize with their friends, and they enjoy live music, enjoy somebody picking away at the tunes that they love in the background. It's funny because I mean, I've noticed this over the years, even especially if you play the same room a couple nights in a row, where like, you know, and especially if you tell the audience that you're back the next night. One night you could be in there and you're telling before every song, you're telling a 10-minute story about this song, where it came from, and the writers and who's played on it, and then the next night, the same crowd, you know, this table might come back to see you play, but the audience is completely different, and you're not doing any of that stuff, and they're kind of like put off by it. It's just it's the room. It's, you know.
It's the vibe. It's the vibe of the room. I did a couple of Sundays ago. I over the summer now I'm doing Sundays at O'Reilly 6 to 9. I didn't even take a break. I played 3 hours straight, and just for no other reason than I had people there and they were invested.
Exactly.
And I was like, I got this going. And when I get in that space, I can play all night for some reason.
Yeah.
You know, just stories come up, songs come up. You know, there was a couple there from Orillia, Ontario. I had just been in Orillia, Ontario.
Yep.
To see Ringo Starr. That's another program. So I said, there's no statue of Gordon Lightfoot in Orillia. And it just went from there. I must have played, you know, every Gordon Lightfoot song I knew. And then I was having a conversation with the room, and I didn't feel like breaking it. So I just kept going.
Exactly. Because then what do you do if you got that room and
no vibe, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's like, because when you do have that room, you don't, like you just said, you don't want to break that, because you go take a 20-minute break, half the room is clearing out. It feels like you're almost starting from scratch again then when you get back on
Yeah,
for your second set or whatever,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Some nights you're a show, some nights you're a jukebox, and you had to be prepared for that.
Yeah, yeah,
That's why
exactly.
it's so difficult. It takes you years to get that through your noggin too,
It's
right?
not for the faint of heart. There's no doubt about that.
Nobody. It certainly isn't, right? Because when you're younger, what you're doing is so important. You've worked so hard, and so like no one's paying attention. This sucks.
Yeah.
But as you get older and more seasoned, you're like, okay, it's okay. I'm just going to entertain me tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why you
roll with
always
the
have to have
punches.
something. You had to be pushing for something or trying to accomplish something different all the time. That's what keeps me going. Anyway,
So back to the previous question, where can folks find you? I know you're doing a bunch of gigs
Oh,
around.
yeah.
I mean, you're playing around town. Yep.
Yeah, my weekly schedule is Monday, Broderick, 7:00.
Yep.
On Tuesday, I'm at Shamrock, 6 to 9. Wednesdays, I'm usually off. I think Thursdays, I may be at Brody's coming up, but generally I'm off Thursday. Friday, I'm at Shamrock City again, 6 to 9. Saturdays, I'm at McNiven's, 7:30 to 10:30.
Right,
which
right.
is
The
in
new
Airport Heights,
the new
place
local
just
pub. Yeah, right on.
Yeah. Man, I haven't walked to work in a long time. We've lived in the burbs now for 13 years. I haven't walked to work since.
Yep.
You don't worry about getting home.
Exactly. Yeah, you figure it out then. Yeah.
And then Sunday nights I'm at O'Reilly. Sunday evenings 6 to 9. So
that's great.
Plus, I'm
So
going
lots
off
of-
to New.
Sorry, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I'm off to Nova Scotia now the first week of July. Some new things happening for me. I have festival gigs on the mainland by myself.
Great, man.
These are firsts for me. I've always been a band guy, right? But I'm doing the Gaelic College Kitchen Fest in July, and then I'm doing another festival in New Brunswick, Levy on the Lake, the latter part of August. So I mean, those are exciting things, right?
They're fun. Fun opportunities to look forward to. You were just played in Toronto, didn't you? Just do a gig in Toronto a couple weeks ago as well.
Yeah,
great. Yeah, nice to get back out and doing a few things in different rooms too, I bet.
It is, but to go out and do it by myself still ties into what we were just talking about a minute ago. I've never done that before.
Exactly.
Going on the road by myself,
it's kind of liberating, honestly.
It is, and like you said too, you can read the room better because you're not tied to whatever songs the bass player knows.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or what arrangements you have worked up. Or I'm pretty lucky with my guys, Bob Pike. I can throw anything at him, he can play it. Him and Luke Welch, boys, are like, they never know what I'm going to do next, right?
Yeah.
And they love that because they'd be bored shitless otherwise.
Exactly. No, it's always great to have good players around you, especially you can just throw them into the mix. And I mean, but that makes it interesting because then the nights that you're just throwing at them, you're like, boys, that was wicked last night, boy. Like that was a wicked song we did. What a job we did on that one out of nowhere, you know?
Who was that band last night? They were great.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, same thing. It's about the vibe. If we get a good feel in the room and we get playing off each other, it's more like a jam. That's where I am now. Like freaking playing arrangements down cold. I'm over that now. It's so boring. Like,
yeah.
Okay, yes, it's great when you're, everything tight, nailed down. If you're going to be, full on out there touring concert act or whatever. But I like being relaxed. If all people see on stage is a smile and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And if you got that going on, then the rest of it falls into place.
Well, folks, if you're listening from home and if you're, in around the St. John's area, by all means, make sure you get out and check out Larry Foley. You just read it up there and where he's going to be playing. And if you're listening from outside the province and you're planning on making a trip out, come see Larry. He's all over St. John's, and he just
has shorter thumbs than Donald Trump.
So, Larry, I want to do a fun thing. I've been doing this all season. I do a little rapid fire question segment where we just hammer out kind of, I got 9 or 10 questions here, and they don't have to be like quite rapid fire. You don't have to bang them out, but there's just a bit of fun and, just kind of a bit off topic. That's all. So you ready for this?
Lay it on me.
All right. So the very first question, who's the greatest songwriter in your eyes of all time?
Gordon Lightfoot.
Gordon Lightfoot. Great answer. Hold on. I got to get it over here. I got this thing moved. Number 2. If you never played music professionally, what do you think your job would currently be, or what do you think you would have grown up doing?
TV or radio host.
Yeah, you worked on radio for a while back. Yeah, I remember that. I should have asked you about that too. Yeah, right on. Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah. All right, I got a good one for you. You're playing at Shamrock City tonight, but beforehand, what is on the Larry Foley home cooking show this evening?
Oh, this evening. I don't know. Whatever's there. I think I got a pack of thighs. I have a pack of frozen thighs that might make the way. Although there's carrots and celery there, I got to get rid of. So I might do like a chicken stew of some sort this evening.
Larry, you've become quite a good home cook. I mean, I always see these posts, and I always laugh at people saying, "Geez, where'd you get the recipe?" You're like, "I just found the ingredients in the fridge and threw it in a pot."
Whatever's there, it's just like a song. You take the bits and put it together, man. It's got to taste good. Look, if you got an onion and a bit of garlic, anything tastes good.
Anything goes, yeah, exactly. Off the top of your head, what's one of the most bizarre things that you've seen from the stage?
Oh boy.
I can think of one that I remember seeing it happen while you were playing at Kelly's.
Oh, really?
I remember a guy Kelly's like, I think he had a heart attack or something.
Yeah.
That was a dark moment. Yeah.
I've had a couple of those.
Oh man, that's shocking.
I had a couple of Downey Wet, man. That one was pretty real. Yeah. You were there, were you?
I was there. I was playing after you, and I remember there was a girl walking up the road. It was like a baby doctor, and she came in and gave him a few pumps of CPR and threw in the back of an ambulance. Way to go.
The only thing saved him is his wife was a nurse. She was there. They were dancing. Right. I never played Sweet Forget Me Not since.
That's it. It was canceled in.
I once had a girl take off her prosthetic limb for me to sign.
Oh, that is definitely up there. Wow. What was the limb? Like her leg or her arm, or
it was her forearm?
Wow.
Yeah, forearm.
She just handed you her arm and just signed this. Wow. Did you sign it?
Yep.
I would love to know if she still rocks the Larry
She
Foley.
is. I have to run it. She was only young. I've seen her as an adult. Yeah,
that's awesome. I love that. If you had to choose between the two, would you have a hot dog or a hamburger?
Hamburger all day.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm a big hamburger guy. Who is someone that you've shared the stage with that you consider yourself very lucky for doing so?
Wow. I guess Ron.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about that. I mean, it seems pretty obvious answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say Ron Hynes, 100%.
What is the go-to TV programming for Larry Foley?
These days, Cars, Roadkill or Diesel Brothers, anyone building something.
Okay, cool.
Well, my dad was auto body repairman when I was a child, so car bug has never left me. Right, I grew up around the garages, so that's where I am. That my current favorite is Roadkill.
What is the best concert that you've ever seen live?
I have to say, seen a lot of concerts. Annie Lennox knocked me on my ass when I saw her live.
Neat. Where was that?
It was in Toronto, it's whatever the big place. Whatever the big place. I don't pay attention much, you know that, right? Whatever large thing is in Toronto that people go things at. I suppose it was the Sky Dome. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, you only think she can sing on record, man. Holy fuck! Like, wow. Yeah. Just wow. It's like you spent the whole time just in love with her. Like,
yeah.
That is magnetism, and just I've been able to, because there's a lot of singers these days that are acrobats, right? That shit. But it's just Scott's one. See, can't take it off the Scots.
I got an interesting one for you. I don't want you to answer. Okay, I'll tell you the question first. I want to know what your favorite guitar is in your collection. Not whether you play it or not, but just something that stands out to you. Your favorite guitar that you have in your collection.
I guess it would have to be my old J45. I bought it off Blackie O'Leary in 1990 or 1991. And at the time, there were frets missing off. There was holes in the top. It was pretty beat to fuck, right? And pardon my language. And Steve Woodcock put it back together, sort of got it up and running. And it was the only guitar I had for a lot of years, man.
What's that Martin I used?
Kind of like my Willie Nelson Trigger guitar. Go ahead.
Sorry. What was that? What's that Martin that I used in the video? Because I actually recorded my last album, Talking Back Fool, in Larry's home studio, his home shedio. And there's a lot of memorabilia that is encompassed in Larry's studio there that I was featured in this video. I mean, if you're listening from home, go check it out. Talking Back Fool on YouTube. But it's like an old Martin, like a 58 Martin or something like that. Like what a rig that is.
54. That belong. It's a 54 single 015. Would have been basically a low end Martin at the time, all mahogany body, which everybody's crazy about now.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It belonged to Omar Blondell, who was an interesting character. Go look him up. A pivotal character in Newfoundland music, and certainly Newfoundland guitar adaptation of folk music.
Cool.
He had a radio show called Sagebrush Sam. He's in the late 50s, early 60s. I think that he was on CJON radio, and I believe VOCM too. So he'd do live radio shows, and he went in. He was a radio. He had experience in radio, but he came to St. John's on a ship, and I don't know if he missed the boat or what. And he's like looking for some gigs, and he went up to the radio station, and they had a spot to fill, and someone handed him the Journalist Oil songbook. And he could read music quite proficiently, and he came up with all of these lovely arrangements that a lot of us are still gleaning all these years later. So check out some of his old records. But that's his guitar. I found it on the buy and sell by accident.
Wow, crazy, yep. Interesting. Yep. And the final question for the rapid fire segment here, kind of an interesting one, but I'd like to hear your take on it. Do you think that the world was better or worse before the age of social media?
Well, it's social evolution, right? I'm sure every generation had similar thoughts about whatever technology they had to grapple with. I remember reading a thing one time where musicians were freaking out in the 20s because all of a sudden, and in the 30s, because you could get music for free on the radio, and they weren't getting paid for it. Right. I was like, well, that's what everybody started saying here, when you could download for free and not have to pay for it. So I think every generation has to grapple with what technology they come up with. I mean, we're slowly but steadily building our own hell, right? So the advantage of it is you can talk to your relatives in Ontario without spending $300 a month on a phone bill.
Yep, exactly.
There are some downfalls. Our industry has taken some hits, as you're at it long enough now to be able to attest. Mm-hmm. And soon as it became so easy to make music and put it out there, then obviously it became less valuable in a lot of ways. But I think circling back to COVID, I think we realized what the real value is, exactly. And then it's not necessarily monetarily, unfortunately, but but we're right back to the Wild West in a different way. People are threatened in ways they never were before by technology, and mostly by other humans, right? Mm-hmm. It's like Tombstone, man, and someone can shoot you because they want that thing over there. Well, now they're just going to say shit about you on the internet, or steal your money from without you knowing off your card. Yeah. So yeah. I don't think human nature will never change, no matter what kind of technology we're faced with. So that's what I have to say about that.
Absolutely. Well, Larry, listen, man, I don't want to hold you up any longer. Thanks so much for doing this. Really appreciate you taking the time. Folks, if you're at home, man, make sure you get out and check out Larry Foley live. He's playing downtown all the time. Thanks again, Larry. Really appreciate it, man.
And go see Dave Whitty. He's wicked.
Hey, right on. Thanks, Larry. We'll catch up with you soon, buddy. Cheers.
Yeah. Rock on.
Huge thanks to Mr. Larry Foley for coming on there. Always love catching up with Larry. He's an abundance of information and always a great chat. Always love the classic Larry Foley, Ron Hynes impersonation. Always gets me. I'm laughing at that one for years. So huge thanks to Larry, and make sure you get down and check him out. He's playing all over the place all throughout the summer, and he's always a great listen to, and always got a lot of stories to tell. So big thanks to Lar. That about does it for me, guys. Not too much else going on. Just want to pump the show one more time. June 24th. Oh my God, did I get that wrong? Quite possibly. And I'm not even going to go back and edit it right now. So June 24th. Yeah, June 24th, Friday night at the Rock House. I've been mixing that up every single time I say it. Oh my God. But June 24th at the Rock House, Dave Whitty Band, opener Claire Follett. Tickets are on sale right now. www.davewhitty.com. And you'll find the Eventbrite there, and you can go purchase some tickets, and there'll also be abundance of tickets on the door as well, guys. Rock House is a huge room. We don't have 300 tickets sold, so be lots of room on the door. So come on out for a great evening of music. Going to be the only Whitty Band show of the year. That about does it for me, guys, from downtown St. John's, Newfoundland. I'm Dave Whitty. Peace.